Good morning, students. So in the last class we studied about the philosophy of bhakti, and we completed the philosophy of bhakti according to the philosophers like Shankaracharya. Then we also completed the philosophy of Ramanujacharya, Shankaracharya's advocacy of Advaita, and Ramanujacharya Visishtadvaita, philosophy of Visishtadvaita. Then Basaveshwara's Veerashaivism of Basaveshwara, and we also gone through the saints of Maharashtra, Jnaneshwar, Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram, Sakhubai, Chokemala, and very important what we have to understand, most of these social revolutionaries, they are from the lower caste, and the Pandrapur Vittal is a form of Vishnu. They all gave a new tradition that said that bhakti is most important than the upper caste and lower caste traditions. That is what very important of bhakti. Narsi Mehta, he said, they are the Vaishnavas who understand the pain of others. So this is an abhang in Marathi. He who identifies with the battered and beaten, make him a saint for God he is with him. A person who is sant, who is a saint, a person who is battered and beaten means a person who's gone through the sufferings or had an experience of exploitation, definitely make him a saint. He holds every forsaken man close to the heart. He treats a slave as his own son, says Tuka. Tuka means Tukaram. The worst to be tried to repeat again, such a man is God in person. Here is an abhang composed by Chokimela's son. You made us low caste. You face and fact, great Lord. Our whole life is left over food to eat. You should be ashamed of this. You have eaten in our home. How can you deny it? Chokimela's Carmelas ask, what did you give me life? Why did you give me life? What you have to understand here, there was a practice in Indian society in the past. The lower caste people were not allowed to eat with upper caste people. Even there was a worst practice of that lower caste people were asked to leave the leftover food of upper caste people. So he says that God, don't you ashamed of yourself that you gave us birth and you made us to eat the leftover food of others. That is not a correct one. So that is what a question to the God by the person who suffered in his life. So when you read the life story of Ambedkar and Sri Narayana Guru, Ramanujacharya, or any other social reformers, includes Basavanna, all those things, definitely we experience all those things. Now let us move to the next, that is Nathpanthis or Siddha and Yogis. We studied about Veerashaiva and Advaita and Visishtadvaita philosophy. Now let us learn a new way of worshipping God. What is worshipping God? We can worship God through rituals or by practices and all those things. What Basaveshwara said, there is no need of construction of house, idol worship and all those things. Rather, you worship a God with your own body, because our mind and body itself is considered as temple. Those things are considered as very, very important. Nathpanthis or Siddhas and Yogis. Nathpanthis or Siddhas and Yogis are considered as one of the different way of worshipping God. Nathpanthis, Siddhas and Yogis. A number of religious groups that emerged during this period criticized the ritual and other aspect of conventional religion and the social order. What is conventional religion and social order? Is nothing but worshipping a god in a devotional way, means in a way in which we do offerings to the god, arghya, naivedya and all those things what we are doing everyday life. That is a traditional way of worshipping God. Now it is very clearly said that traditional way of worshipping God is not correct. So that is what they. A large number of religious groups that emerged during this period criticized the ritual and other aspects of conventional religion and social order, using simple logical arguments. Among them were Nathpanthis, Siddhachars and Yogis. So Nathpanthis, Yogi and Siddhachar, they are the people who explained in a different way of explanation. That is not the traditional or conventional way of religion. They advocated renunciation of the world. They advocated renunciation. Renunciation of world is nothing but leaving the world, means leaving the world sense, not having any kind of desires of worldly desires. To them, the path of salvation is lay in meditation and formless. So what is Nathpanthi says that if you want to attain moksha or salvation, what you have to do? That just be in meditation. Ultimate reality is realization of oneness within it. So meditation is considered as ultimate reality. To achieve this, they advocated the intense training of mind, body through the practice of yogasana. So what is the advocated by Nathpanthis? Nathpanthis advocated the yogasana. Yogasana is nothing but controlling your mind through asanas, through yoga. That is what the advocated by the Nathpanthis. Through the practice of yogasana, like breathing exercise, meditation. So breathing exercise, meditation makes a body, mind and under control. These groups become particularly popular among the low caste. Their criticism of conventional religion created for the ground for devotion of religion to become popular force in the northern India. So Nathpanthis, they become very popular in northern India, and their way of criticized conventional religious practices. Conventional religious practices means the old traditions and customs and traditions of religious practices were criticized. They believed that practice the yogasana, pranic exercise or breathing control, so that you can control or you can attain salvation. That is the difference between the practice by the other religious philosophers. Till now we completed the study of Hinduism. Okay, we studied about Shankaracharya, we studied about Ramanujacharya, we studied about Veerashaiva, and we studied about science of Maharashtra. Now let us study what are the religious changes which took place in the Islamic religion. Because very important, there is no religion in the world which is free of exploitation. That means minor or major level or exploitation is found in all the religions. So we can see. So that's the reason why even in the Islamic religion also a lot of changes advocated by the people who belongs to that religion. Islam and Sufism. The sons had much in common with Sufis, so much so that it is believed that they adopted many ideas of each other. Sufis were Muslim mystics. They were rejected outward religiosity and emphasized love and devotion to the God. So, what is Sufis advocated that what you have to do is just devotion and love towards the God and the compassion towards the fellow human beings. Very important, you have to understand. Always you have to compassion to the human beings, compassion to the fellow human beings, or compassion to the fellow human beings, and ultimate devotion and the love to the God. That definitely make you truly religious. There is no need that you have to construct a temple or do a lot of expenditure, but only thing what you have to do is nothing but compassion to the God, compassion to the common man, and as well as devotion to the God. That makes you different from others. Islam propagated the strict monotheism. Monotheism is means worshipping of a single God. That is what, or submission of to the one God. It rejected the idol worship, means like what we worship the idol, stone, bronze, and Rama, Vishnu. Islam rejected this kind of idol worship and considerably simplified the rituals of worship into collective prayers. At the same time, Muslim scholars developed a holy law called Shariat. So, Shariat is a holy law of Muslim scholars. So, Muslim scholars developed the Shariat law, and the Shariat law developed by the Muslim scholars, that definitely made different from the earlier way. In the Shariat, of course, there were a lot of restrictions, and they always believed in the worshipping of one God. The Sufis often rejected elaborate rituals and codes of behavior demanded by Muslim religious scholars. So, Sufi cult. What is the difference between Islam and Sufi? Sufi cult believed that there is no need of having elaborate ritual practices. They rejected elaborate ritual codes and behavior, and they also rejected the behavioral demands by the Muslim religious scholars. They sought union with the God as much as a lover seeks his beloved. So, Sufi said that love your God like your own person. Love the God like your own person, so that naturally you get the blessings of the God. With disregard of the world. Like the saint poet, the Sufis too composed poems, ghazals, of course you may be knowing. Their feelings, most of the Sufi saints, they express their feelings through the poems, and a rich literature of prose, including anecdotes and fables, developing around them. Among the great Sufis of Central Asia, Ghazali or Rumini and Shadi, like Nathpanthis, Siddhas and Yogis. The Sufis too believed that the heart can be trained to look at the world in a different way. You can train your heart, and you can train your heart for what? You can train your heart to look at the world in a different way. They developed elaborate method of training, zikr, chanting of name of our sacred formula, contemplation, and raqs means dancing. So dancing and singing and chanting of names of gods under the guidance of a master, Pir. Pir is Sufi master, is called as Pir. It's called as Sufi master. Thus emerged silsilas or genealogy of Sufi teachers. Sufi teachers are peers. The Sufi teachers, these Sufi teachers train the people belongs to their religion to worship the God. Slightly different method of instruction from the ritual practices. So it is slightly different from the regular Islamic practices. This Sufi conclave. A large number of Sufis from Central Asia settled in Hindustan from 11th century onwards. This process was strengthened with the establishment of Delhi Sultanates, when several major Sufi centers developed all over the subcontinent. The Chishti Silsila was among the most influential orders. It had a long line of teachers like Khwaja Mohyuddin Chishti, which we studied in the previous chapter, of Ajmer. So Ajmer Dargah, that is Khwaja Mohyuddin Chishti's Dargah. Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Khaki of Delhi, Baba Farid of Punjab, Khwaja Nizamuddin Ahulia of Delhi, and Bande Nawaz Dargah of Gulbarga. Those who are from Gulbarga may be knowing Bande Nawaz Dargah of Gulbarga. So dargahs are the place of worship. Dargahs are the place of worship of Sufi saints. So that is called dargah, place of worship of Sufi saints. That is dargah. So what is the figure 5? Figure 5 is a page from the manuscript of Quran. So Sufi dargah Sufis considered as one of the major changes to the way of worshipping of Islam. The Sufi masters held their assemblies in kanakwas or hospices. Devotees, all descriptions including members of the royalty and nobility and ordinary people, flocked to these kanquas. They discussed the spiritual matters, sought the blessings of the saints, and solving the worldly problems, or the simply attempted the music and dance session. Sufi ghazals, musics and dance system, they were very common those days. And those who are residing in a Sufi like a temple, so they made it very profound. And the Sufi, what you have to understand is, Sufism gave a new beginning for Islam, because till that Islam followed the worshipping of one God. Now they said that there is no need of worshipping with the hardcore religiosity, rather you can worship a God through dancing, music, singing, so that you can love to the God in a simple way. That is what the Sufism advocated. Often people attributed Sufi masters with the miraculous powers that could relieve others their illness and trouble. The tomb or dargah of a Sufi saint became a place of pilgrimage with thousands of people of all faiths thronged. What is the difference between Islam and Sufism? You can see even in Bijapur, the Jod Gumbat or the dargah which is near the bus stand, where you can see people who belong to all other religious faith also visit dargah. And it is always believed that dargah or the Sufi saint got a mystical power, in which, or miraculous power, they definitely can take away the illness or faith problems of anyone. That is what makes Sufi slightly different from the traditional Islamic way of worshipping Allah. So those who have visited maybe dargah, any dargah for that matter, maybe in Bijapur or in Gulbarga or Ajmer's dargah or even the dargah of Mumbai, Haji Ali Dargah. So slightly different than the worshipping of mosque, because in mosque women are not allowed to enter mosque, whereas Dargah women are allowed to enter, and people of all faith enter Dargah for worshipping of the Almighty, or the powerful supreme God, maybe in any form. So that is what the Sufi way of worshipping. Jalaluddin Rumi was a great 13th century Sufi poet from Iran who wrote in Persian. Here is an extract from the work. He is not one cross of Christian. I went to the Hindu temples, in none of them was there is any sign. He was not on the heights of lowlands. I went to the Kaaba of Makkah. He was not there. I asked about him, Avicenna, the philosopher. He was beyond the range of Avicenna. Looked into the heart. Is that his place? I saw. He was in no other place. So what is explains that don't search God in Kaaba, Mecca, or in Christianity or in religion. Rather, you search for a God in the heart of other person. That is what the beautiful explanation of Sufi culture. So this we completed the explanation about Sufi. In the next class we'll study about new religious development of North India. Take care. Wish you a wonderful day. Thank you.